Where to begin? One wise fool once put it this way: simply start at the beginning, work your way through the middle, and find yourself the end. Frankly, I prefer starting at the very center. Drop the needle on the digital robot rock Discotheque Synthetica album. I ruined that. ZWP. Welcome, friends. Welcome. I am your humble host, the narrator. And you are now experiencing the Zeppoverse world-building project. Welcome, friends. Let us begin at the center. Imagine, if you would, a world not unlike your own. Indeed, inspired by reality. Starting here and now, reaching far back into the distant past and far forward into the distant future, but set in an alternate universe that has a few dramatic differences from your own, and moving forward towards a dangerous moment in the critical climax of the calendar year 2222. Welcome to the ZWP, the Zeppoverse world-building project. I humbly welcome you, friends. I am the narrator, your host, and this is a rough draft Wattpad Wednesdays development edition of the new project known as the Zeppoverse world-building project. Imagine, if you will, a world inspired by the reality that coulda, shoulda, woulda, might have been if the following contingencies had been radically different from your own actual real-world timeline. In 1800 and insert correct year here, the book The Baron's Many Adventures of Baron von Trumpenstein was not just an actual book that can actually be found in your actual Library of Congress, but was, in fact, a occult, mystically revealed prophecy of a future family lineage that would spring forth and establish an empire that would redefine global culture. A world approaching a disastrous countdown to an end point. The 0 hour. The final New Year's Eve at the end of the year 2022. At the center of this world, we encounter a woman, a character who has lived many lives in just this lifetime, but has also lived many lifetimes. Let's zoom out, because while she resides at this living center, this beating heart of this literary universe, one must appreciate the grand scale of things. Zoom back, and as far out as you can with your imagination, and take the following for granted to be understood as real and applicable. Quantum mechanics, Newtonian physics, etc., with a splash of the mystical. The universe is not a computational simulation, but rather a living holographic fractal womb mind that dreams forth reality using an infinity probability waveform function matrix of holographic recursion. Each individual person, and I do use big, giant, semi-sarcastic bunny ear quotes around that word, is phenomenologically the center of their own universe. Each individual living person is phenomenologically the center of their own phenomenological universe. Each mini-personal universe is like a toroidal tunnel of creation. Creation not being a past tense completed action by some externalized supreme being, but rather, dear friends, an infinitely unfolding, fractally recursive, manifold, unfolding process that is the naturally occurring creation that occurs at the root source of everyone who is experiencing their lives. This woman that we are focused on is the primary character at this central point, because all other stories lead to her for reasons that we have yet to uncover. Join us as we explore behind-the-scenes experimental story development and world-building mayhem with a splash of literary, sci-fi, action-adventure, scene sketch doodling, and a dose of literary, fictional, sci-fi music. Here is a titled piece that shall be known forever in the Zeppoverse as, quote, Episode 1, Ambience Centerpiece, DJ Z, the Zeppoverse World Building Project Album. A live to tape, remix live, improvised audio asset engineering performance of the UK Drill asset package. We will begin our exploration of the world in which we find Evelyn Lilith Macknally. Needle drop. Music cue. Play now. Unsustainable, sustainable war grinds on, and the world keeps turning. Lil Miss Mac, queen of the eye contact killers, Evelyn Lilith Macknally, Lil to her mother. Violence was no stranger to Lilith. She grew up in a world drowning in its own violence. She grew up in the aftermath of the World War to begin all endless world war. She learned to survive on the cutthroat streets of the underground. She lived and lost and died 1,000 lifetimes in those sewers. By the time she came of age and became a woman of 20, the world was just that brutal. The scars she wore with pride upon her skin, but the pain of the psyche being torn so deep was a burden she rarely talked about. survival of the fittest doesn't even begin to describe the elementary school training ground that this generation of people grew up through. Survival of the most ruthless brings out the ruthlessness in everyone and produces a culture that celebrates brutality and mourns too quickly and much too shallowly to heal the wounds of so much carnage. Death was everywhere. To cope and manage and deal with all this pain and the visual assault of all the grisly carnage, she built a cozy little center nest cocoon and erected walls, thick and, in her mind, insurmountable. In the many episodes in which we encounter Mac, she is struggling to get by, to survive, to make it through the shitstorm that is reality. And this experience builds up in her a cold and calculating certainty that is her own undoing. And that is episode 1 of ZWP, Zeppoverse World Building Project. I humbly thank you for tuning in, friends. This has been a rough draft episode. Comments, questions, suggestions, critiques, drop them comments below. And be sure to share this and spread the word wide, as all those who engage and participate will be included in the experimental development of this multi-book series. To explore the many dimensions of the Zeppoverse, please visit solo.to/Mr. Zeppo.